Welcome, everybody. So this is the sort of the behind the scenes for Twin Earth, the film that was just released. So for the people that are watching, if you haven't seen the movie, pause the video right now and go watch the movie because we're going to have spoilers in here and it's just not going to make sense. So this is all you have to do. Pause this, go to the first comment, and I'll pin the link to the movie in the first comment. Right click on it, open it in a new tab, watch it in a new tab, then you can come back to this. Okay. So just a little bit about the film. I think that so far, I know only, you know how these things go with YouTube. So it's all about how big your channel is. So if you have a lot of subscribers and, a big network, it'll get fanned to a bigger audience. If not, it'll be, to a minimum audience. But so far, the reaction's been good. One guy, I think from Europe, he suggested that that we submit it to a film festival. So I don't know too much about film festivals. This is my first film, so you know, that's I know that you have to like pay to get in and all kind of stuff. Other comments that we got was that, oh, this is you guys should do like a time travel movie and things like that. And I was thinking, this was done, with zero budget. So it's like I was like, okay, yeah, we'll think about it. It's another, it's going to be similar to this, but we'll kind of think about it. And then so it's good. It's good that people are into it and they're like, yeah, you guys should make another movie. And people have subscribed because of this video, so that's good. So so little background on this film is that it just kind of, this is my first film. So it just sort of happened by accident. So it wasn't really supposed to happen, but I just sort of had a free time in the downtown Oceanside area one day at night. And I was just like, oh, wait, let me go get some footage. And then it really started from there. So, and then it kind of just took off. And then it's like, then I got, Steven involved. And then, I got Jack involved. And then, Vishal involved. And it just kind of took off from there, kind of morphed from there. It's almost like, I work very non-linearly. So we didn't go in there with the story that was already made. We came back with the footage. And then I said, well, what kind of story can we? So that's why this, film is, a little bit different. It's experimental. There's a lot of cool things in there. Like, I think, I don't know if you're a film buff. Now, Steven, are you you're a filmmaker yourself? Are you like a film buff, or are you into like?
Yeah, I make films on quite a consistent basis. Yeah, I'd say I'm have more inclination towards watching the older films than most modern cinema though.
No, but oh yeah, but I'm sure like like are you familiar with like cinematography terms and things like that before
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay. So there's a lot of really cool stuff here. Like for example, we go from third perspective to like first perspective, and then we do stuff like like weird camera movements. That's all kind of artistic that we left in there. I don't want to mention all of them because I want you to explore it yourself. But yeah, cool stuff in there. And then it's kind of like that's why it's kind of non-linear. So I didn't approach it as like, okay, here's a story and we're going to fit everything into this, right? So I think that's what people are saying. People are like, oh, wait, this is different. So I want to open it up to like, because you guys had no clue what this was about. Because, right? Because you kind of did your part and that's it. And I basically told you, okay, this is the guy that comes into this world. And I said, Steven, I want you to play an AI agent. And then I said, Jack, you're going to, we improv that scene. So after watching the movie, which you had no idea what it was going to be about, you know what I mean? Other than just the basic plot. But do you have any questions or like, well, what does this mean? Or what does that symbolism mean? Or what is that thing you put in the end or anything like that? If you have it, I can answer it.
I kind of got it once you were done. I didn't
Okay.
see remember the head didn't pop on the screen while we were filming. It was
Oh
just
yeah.
those inside. So yeah, I really had kind of like no idea just what that brief
But
thing
did
you
it
told.
make sense? Did it make sense to you?
Yeah, it kind of did, but I couldn't put it all together until you finished it. And
Yeah, the
then his
film.
head popped on the screen and you were telling me about that and I'm like, "Dang, that looks good, man." That was like Mac from from the
What do you think, Steven? Do you have any
days.
like, plot
I
questions?
I'm just kind of curious how you want to like further like build off this since like you have this film being titled like Twin Earth. Like, will the sequel be called like Triple Earth, Quadruple Earth? Have like a series of films,
Yeah.
that build upon this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might
Yeah.
even episode two, maybe, or something. You
What's
know,
that? Jack, you cut off. What is
you
that?
could even think about like episode two or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think right now it's like, yeah, I mean, we have to think about it. But like I said, because there's a lot of cool parts in there. You guys watched it, right? So it's like, like do you have any like plot questions? Like why is this? Why did you do that? Or because I can think of a few of them that I think that people might have stumbled on. Or did it
Right.
completely make sense to you? Did it make sense to you, everything? You think?
Well, the endings are ended, so and that's
Okay.
cool.
You understood
Got it.
that you understood the light part, right? So was that clear? It's like he came in with that mysterious light, right? In the
Yeah.
beginning,
Oh,
how
through
there's
the
that
through, when that, yeah,
he
yeah, when you
came
went
in,
through the sculpture.
yeah, he came in with the mysterious light. That means he came into the world. At the end of
Yeah.
it, it should be understood that he got home because that same light came again. And then so basically the light transported him back home, right? He wasn't just left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what that light is there for. Because that light, yeah, this is why I said, see, you guys gotta this is why I knew that, if there's confusion, I wanted that this is why I wanted to say, like, okay, what's that light for? Well, that light signifies that he came in this world, right? That's that energy that transported him here. At the end, he has that light again. So that means that he got back home, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
in
Yeah,
filmmaking, we have this thing, show don't tell, right? They don't
yeah.
need to be told everything. So that's the understanding that I hope that you guys got, right? So he got back home because, we didn't want to leave it as like, oh, wait, we don't know if he's kind of praying to somebody above. And then it's like the character, did he come back home? So the light, you hear that noise again and the light, that means he made it back home. He got transported, or we don't know where, but he got transported somewhere. Maybe we can make a sequel and then say, oh,
Yeah.
he got transported somewhere else.
Yeah, another Oceanside or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, that's the thing. So that's the sort of thing that I was going to ask you. Like, do you have any other uh nuances like that? You know what I mean? To where it's like so originally what I was going to do was that I was going to have the character go back to the sculpture because he came from the sculpture area, right? And then I had shot that final scene, and then that was so grand because the ocean and stuff where he's standing by the ocean. And I just said, okay, that's got to be this. So the plot changed after I got that footage. Because originally he was going to go back to the sculpture and then be transported back. But then that would have been kind of cheesy and expected. It would have just been like, okay, wait, he kind of came from the sculpture and he went back. So as soon as I got that footage, I
Oh, that's what I was looking.
yeah, as soon as I got that footage, I said, all right, well, we have to build the story to where it's like, okay, that is the climax, and then that works. So I would say my favorite scene in this whole thing is did you see that footage with the fog on the street?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So I thought that was so good. With the blinking lights, that very last part before the beach, that one
Yeah,
scene, there was all that fog. I just happened to be there. And then the next day I came back and there was no fog. So I just happened to be there and I was like, wow, it's all foggy. I got to get this. And then I got that. And then that just worked out beautifully to where it's like that one shot. I love that shot where it's like there's that light that keeps blinking, the city's light that's kind of messed up. And then, I'm
yeah.
like standing right there, the character standing right there, and then there's fog everywhere. So I thought that was one of the best shots because it's looked very,
Yeah, I got like comments on that
yeah,
when
what
I
is it?
sent it to my they came back, man, do you actually live there? Is that a real place with the blinking lights and stuff? They actually said that. And I was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
where we live, man, Oceanside.
yeah, that's
You know?
real. And we
Yeah,
get fog rolling from the ocean, right?
yeah,
So we get that once in a while, but you don't know when it's going to be. So I just happened to be there that day. And then I was like, I got to get this because it just looks so cool. And then,
yeah.
so I actually shot it in like 3 or 4 different days. So that one with the beach shot, that was different. That was on a different day. And then the last thing I got was the fog shot. And then I was just like, great, this fog shot's going to go right before this one, and then that kind of worked out. So yeah, there's probably a bunch of other little things here and there. And then if I'm not gonna, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil it for other people, if they have a question, they might be like, well, why did you end it like that? Or, what is the
Yeah.
significance of this? Or I want to leave it open so that they can kind of understand it. Obviously, the theme here, isolation, you know what I mean? Trying to be understood. There's so much here. There's literally so much here on like the story side. And then also like we're doing like, like real unconventional camera angles. We're doing like stuff like I said, uh, like Jack, your shot, you're talking to the main character, but then the normal thing to do would have been to do a shoulder to shoulder and then be like you and the character back and forth, right? But we didn't do that. It's like a third person to where somebody is observing you talking to that person, but then so that is all experimental to where like Hollywood would never do that, right? So that's like, that's what people are picking up on, I think. And then they're like, oh, wait, wow, this is kind of different. So in the shot before that with Vishal, that one is like first person, right? Because he's like right in your face. He's actually breaking the fourth wall. So it's okay to do that because the audience is inside the head of the character. I don't know if you noticed that, but the character has no lines at all, right? You have lines, but the character never speaks to the camera. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like that character didn't have any lines like, like Steven did or
No,
Jack did. So
you were
the
just
audience is in the head
narrating,
of that character. You get it? The audience, right? They're in the
kind
head
of.
of that character. Yeah, because so that's the weird thing. So they're experiencing what the character is experiencing, at least anyway. So I don't want to give it too much away, but I'll let people, have their
Uh,
imagination about it. But
maybe, maybe in the future, I'll break the fourth wall too.
no,
Maybe
I
think
think
about.
yours was no, the way it's done beautifully. It's done beautifully. I thought it was good. My only regret is that it's shot with an iPhone. I hate to spoil this for other people watching, but we did it with an iPhone only because, like I said, this wasn't supposed to happen. So I just kind of went out there and said, "Oh, let me make a movie. Oh, let me get some iPhone footage," and it just started from there. So moving forward, we're going to be using a better camera. So before
I
we
I had people come back and ask me what kind of camera it was.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna disclose it. It's an iPhone, yeah, unfortunately. But I thought it was okay. So that I would say that's probably the only thing. Uh, I don't want to say flaw, but that's probably the only thing that's kind of like that I wish it weren't that way because I wish I had used my other camera, but I had no idea this was going to happen. And like I said, completely unplanned. I should have shaved. I shouldn't have worn that blue shirt with the Route 66. It's just I did everything wrong, but then it's just like it's presented to you as like what it is because it's like I had no idea that I was gonna make that movie till like a minute before I said, "Oh wait, I have an hour to burn. Let me go. I think I should shoot a movie." So because I had no idea, if I had went in there with an idea, I would have shaved cleanly like this. I would have wore like a different shirt. So I maybe I don't know. I thought it was just kind of that contributed to it. Anyway,
It worked because you didn't you didn't prepare to fall into that dimensional hole.
yeah,
It was a
yeah,
normal day to do.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know,
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like, so I just want to give an update before we go to each one of you guys to get your response on your characters. We'll do a kind of a character, and then we'll talk about the good things that you guys did. So the update is that this is kind of a behind the scenes. I'll put this up on YouTube, and then probably next week I have another film coming out. So this one is with Vishal. So the way we're going to do this is I think this is how we're going to do it is that some of these films will have me as the lead, which is more like, existential, kind of like abstract, right? And then whoever's in the team, uh, like we'll make a, thing with Jack, right? With him as a lead. Or like, and then if Steven, if you lived here, it'd be great, but you're in Canada. So that's one thing that we should have told him that, so Steven's actually in Canada. He's not here at all. So
you need to get a girlfriend down Oceanside, man.
yeah, yeah. Hey, if
Steve.
if Canada becomes the 51st state,
Oh
Steven
yeah,
will
I'll
be
move down.
yeah, Steven would be the first happiest person.
Yeah, yeah. Future American here. Future.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have another film coming out next week. I'm working on it right now. So this was shot, so this is going to be just all Vishal. So it's about 6 minutes long. I don't want to ruin it by saying what it is, but it's going to be cool. It's just so, again, I'm going to write the music for it, and then I'm editing it right now, and then so I think that's how it'll be. Some of these films will have me as lead, the more abstract ones that no one wants to do. And then some of them will have like maybe like Vishal, some of them will have Jack. If Steven were here, we'd do one with you. And then whoever else that wants to join the team. And then one other thing, so Jack is going to be, we're going to do a series about a restaurant where Jack is the
Yeah.
waiter, and it's going to be a web series. So that's coming too. So that's going to be here. So that's going to be his thing to where it's like we'll have a lot of guests on there and things like that. So that is something. So like I said, everybody gets to shine in this team. So it's like, like maybe like in one movie, this person will be the lead, and another movie, that person will be the lead. So that's the update. So next movie is coming out next week. Film's coming out next week. Uh, so my plan is to keep going with this, and then it's like we'll just make more films, and that's the plan here. So, uh, so Stephen, let's start with you. So your
Sure.
character, so the AI agent. So I want to give a little bit of a background here. So since Stephen is in Canada, see, a lot of the things in this movie, it's just kind of happenstance. Really, it is because it's like I wanted Steven to be in this film, but then he's in Canada. So what do I do? So I went to the sculpture, and then I saw that that projector was projecting something, and I got this idea. I said, oh, you know what? We'll make it an AI agent. And then that way I could get Steven in the film. And then so that's how he just sent me basically what he's doing right now. And then I just put it up on that screen. And then Steven, I'm gonna prop you up a little bit here. Both of you guys are pros.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I think that both of you guys are pros, given, given what you had to work with. I think both of you are, very excellent at what you do. And Steven, I had told him, okay, you're going to be an AI agent. So can you give me, work on this character? He gave me back 8 different characters.
Yeah.
So sorry to put
You
you on
told me.
the Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot, Steven. So he gave me 8 different characters. One of them had a Scottish accent. So I was like, I don't know if a Scottish accent is going to work for work for this. So uh, I really didn't know which one to pick because they're all good. So and then I just told him number 2 was good. Why don't you just do so? That's how much prep work he did for it. Steven, you want to talk about what you had to do, or what you're like? I thought that both of you guys brought a lot of character depth. Character depth is important. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept. So when you have flat characters, this is what Hollywood is missing right now, is that they have flat characters to where it's like they don't have a backstory. They don't have, we don't know anything about them. So both of you, had a lot of depth. So how did you work that out, Stephen? Or how did you do it?
Well, I mean, I kind of took like your recommendations, Karthik. I watched a lot of Max headroom videos
Yeah.
to kind of like, get like a particular speech pattern like in place, as well as like with like the facial tics that he was doing at the time. And kind of just like ran with that.
Did you ever hear Max Headroom before that?
I I knew he was a cultural figure.
Yeah, the weirdest thing was that
He's kind of
Jack,
young.
no,
Yeah.
Jack didn't know that I had told you that. And he came back and he said, Max Headroom.
Yeah.
So he caught
I
he
don't.
caught on to that. That was weird. How did you catch on to that? But you knew it. So
You know how
you cut out, but I think I know what you said. So anyway, but that was good. You did like 8 different versions, and then I said I picked the second one, and then you brought a lot of depth to that character. Even though you're kind of like a robot AI agent, what depth could there be? But I think you know what I mean. But you really brought it up, and I don't know if you noticed, Stephen, but the effects that I added to your voice, right? And
Yes.
when you watch it back, like if you're like this, it actually seems like the voice is coming from up here. Like that is the
yeah.
perception that you get. Because I wanted it to be like a big brother, right? So your voice is the loudest in the whole film because I figured that is you're like the big brother, kind of like 1984, Orson Welles, that kind of thing, the kind of the big brother thing to where you control everything. And then the character is actually looking up to it. And remember, we talked about this. I said, make sure you look down so that it's like you're talking to that character. When I watch it back, literally sounds like whoever's watching it is experiencing it. They're kind of in the character's head, the main character's head. and it really feels like your voice is coming from up here, from like an elevated place, which is where it's coming
Yeah.
from. So I thought that worked out really good. So the effects that I put on there, and then your voice, yeah, that was really good. So I purposefully edited that way, make your voice louder than mine because you had to have more authority than me, right? You had to have more authority because you were the authority. So that was really good. And the final part where it's like, where we say like we exchange that dialogue and he goes, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, never mind. And then it's like, and then the way that you said goodbye, perfect.
Yes.
Because it was like you alphaed me. You know what I mean? It was like it was perfect because I kind of went like, never mind, and then you're like, goodbye. That was just like perfect because it's like you out alphaed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for the character, it was perfect. It was perfect. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but for the
No, I get you.
character,
I
it
get
was
you.
perfect because you had to have the final authority. So, so you responded very nicely to what I said, and then it's like you tried to do above that so that you're always the authority because that was your agent role. So I thought that was really good. And so anything more to add other than
Well,
what you
yeah,
said?
I really like the character. I think like he could pop up definitely like in other projects at times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he could like pop out of a phone or a TV, something
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah, any
You know,
screen you have, yeah, for future
yeah,
projects, he just like
No, I
shows up.
think no, I
like
think Stephen,
you're a
for your
bit wild, all of a sudden, boom. You know.
for what you're doing, Stephen, we could always use some kind of remote character. So I am going to put you in all the films some
Oh,
way,
thanks, buddy.
right?
Appreciate that.
Some way we have to, this way, the most inventive way was to be like, oh, wait, he's being projected on the screen. So I just kind of took your image like it's appearing right now, and then I just superimposed it on there. So it
Job.
looks like it's being projected. So,
Uh, fun fact to everyone watching this right now, or who'll be watching this in the future. This right now, I'm sitting on the couch where I filmed that scene.
In Canada,
so
Yeah, yeah.
oh, you
you're
look.
where are you exactly?
I'm in Chilliwack right now. This is my grandmother's sunroom.
Oh, okay. Is that in Vancouver? Somewhere, right?
Just a little outside of it. It's like a commuter community.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So, yeah, let us know when you're, because I know, Steven is a busy man and, he does this full time. So he's got all these projects lined up. And when you come to LA next time, you let me know. And then,
Oh,
when you're,
definitely, man. I'll work with you any day of the week.
yeah, and then we could do something like this. This is what I wanted to do when you first came that one time where we had that kind of that shoot that never got made into a film for the other film that we're working on. We could have done something that day. So next time you let me know and then we'll do something. So anything else? Any last comments, Stephen, about your role before I go to Jack?
I was just happy to do it, Karthik, and I always appreciate having the opportunity to have a vehicle with which to display my talents, as well as the challenge of taking on such a unique character as well. Like as an actor, it does help me quite a lot to exercise the muscles I don't get to exercise every day, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and my favorite part is that remember how we kind of went back and forth, and then you kind of said we had to pace it out because
Right, right.
we did this virtually, right? So he gave back to me. So I read it and then I gave him back something that said like, okay, we're gonna have to have spaces in the middle so that I respond to what you're doing so that it's like a seamless conversation. So, I edited it out as much as I could and I reacted to what you did, and then yeah, I think it's good. So
I'll I'll give you
yeah.
something to see for your character. Have you seen 2001: Space Odyssey?
Kubrick, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it a
Yeah.
long time ago, but
Remember
I
Hal?
don't remember it.
Remember Hal,
Yep, yep,
the computer? Think Max
yep.
Headroom. Him and Hal got together and had you
I have
Oh,
to
because he
watch.
damn.
was maybe later on might be the big brother thing, you know.
it.
And some thoughts are going through my head right now, like one of these scenes. Somebody will be jogging down the street and they go check their fit watch and they're typing something in and you pop out. You didn't run that far. Why are you lying?
Yeah,
Something like
exactly.
All right, okay. Let's move on before we lose time here. Okay, so Yeah, great job, Steven. Like I said, Steven's a busy individual. I mean, we have to basically book certain days for him, for him to, because he's that busy. He does this full time. Uh, as do I, sort of, because I don't have a other job. This is pretty much all I do, this and music. But Jack, uh, now the weirdest thing about Jack is that he came through another project as a camera operator. So that's what, he came in as, okay, we're just going to help you film. And he was more of like you know, he was going to just operate the camera. I had no idea that you had this type of skills. And then so I first thought, okay, he's just going to come in, he's going to work on the camera. That's all he can do. But what Jack brought to the table, I think, was that, hang on, I'm getting a message here. So what Jack brought to the table was that everything else in the movie was basically scripted, right? I gave Steven what to say, and then he said it, and then I basically everything scripted. With Jack, I just he basically improv the whole thing, his whole scene. He just improved it on the spot, and I thought that was just great. So, and I basically told him, this is all I told him. I told him, all right, just start it off with, I've been watching you from back there. And then, he just took it from there. So tell us, how did you prepare so quickly? How did you get all that? Like, the fire truck, and, you were like, the fire station. How did that just come to you just like that without?
Well, it was kind of natural because I live here.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? It was kind of easy because I could be, uh, I'm the Oceanside guy walking down the street all the time, you know? So I was just cruising down the street like I normally do and saw you. And I'm a nosy sucker, so I was checking you out. And I'm from Jersey, so I figured I'd stick my nose into it, you know. So, but it was kind of easy. I've done a lot of improvisation over the years.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, no, that was the first take. You guys won't believe this, but that was the first take. That was it. We just said we'll do it, and then he just did it. So actually, I cheated because I took what you did back home, and then because I'm off camera, right? You're the only one that's on camera. I'm off camera. So after I took what you had said, and then we did the ADR and stuff, after I took what you had said, I changed my lines a little bit to match what you're saying. You know what I mean? To kind of, so I had the luxury to basically, I didn't have to, I did improv with them on the spot, but I had the luxury to go home and kind of change it around a little bit because, so he didn't have that luxury. He basically had to he just went in and he did it. So we did it three or four, I think three different takes that were all good. Maybe one day, if somebody wants, we'll release like the footage that's like unreleased footage that didn't make it into the movie. You know what I mean? As like a bonus. And then maybe Steven, we could give him the 8 characters that you did,
I
I
would
want,
love to bring out those accents again. Yeah.
No, I have the
I,
video. I've got the
Oh,
video.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to do anything new. I got the video you sent me. But anyway, I thought, wow, what do I choose here from Jack? Because it was so good. It was like all three of them. So I just said, you know what? The first one's pretty good. So we just went with the first one. I just put it in there. So, but you brought so much depth to that character because what I got from there was that because everybody kind of added their own weight to it. Like Vishal added that kind of Gen Z bit, to where he's just like, he's coming in and he makes a joke and then he's like, he gives the directions, and each person brought a different element to it. So I think with you brought that element of concern, like you're legitimately concerned, right? I believed you. You're very believable. So you brought that legitimate concern, but then at the same time, you're kind of like you're wondering what the hell is going on. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So it was like it worked beautifully. I thought it worked beautifully because it was just like and like I said, I had no idea that you were an actor because you were introduced to us as basically, okay, he's gonna turn on the camera when you say action, that's it. You know what I mean? That
yeah.
I thought that's all you could do. So and then it
No,
turns wow, you have this hidden talent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Most actors can't do what you can do, I think. And that improv, that bit that you did, and then
Oh,
so I believe that that'll be a good portion of the future films. You know what I mean? To where it's like it's more natural rather than like canned. I mean, we'll have canned dialogue too, but I'm saying, it's more spontaneous, more natural. This is why I told Jack for the web series we're doing, I just gave him, carte blanche rights, and I said, you know what? You're good enough to where it's like I do have the first episode script written, but I think I'd be kind of shackling you if I said, okay, just read this and that. So it's like, I think what we're going to do is that we're going to say like, okay, this episode is going to be something like this. And then just kind of give you some guidelines and just let you run with it because, I trust your judgment. So, uh,
Cool.
you know,
Way.
yeah, yeah, whatever, basically whatever you want to do. So I thought that was great because, we just had that element. Like I said, just wish that we'd used a better camera. Uh, One thing I learned from this, because since this is my first, film that I made, one thing I learned from this, and the film that's going to come out in like a week also, is that get as much footage as possible, when you're shooting,
Yeah.
because you don't know what's gonna make it and what's gonna, like sometimes it's like something might ruin the shot, and you didn't see it,
Yeah.
like something in the background or something like that, or uh so get as much footage as you possibly can because you're going to be basically, cutting a lot of it, cutting, and then a lot of times you end up with like less footage than it's like, I wish I just had more, you know what I mean?
Well, it's I know you've been through this, Steve, where you're on set and they do like 15 takes, then the last one's perfect, and he goes, "Okay, 5 more for safety." You know, you know,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. But that's the same thing you're talking about because you're
Yeah,
gonna pick the best stuff in post. Yeah, you're gonna put it all together in post. So, yeah, get as
wow.
much as you can while you can, while you
Yeah,
can.
Jack, you were actually on the camera crew for the Top Gun 2, right? You told me.
Actually, I was the original bartender.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then they there were several hundred of us that shot at North Island, and I was the original bartender. And when the following year, I was on the set for Perry Mason up on the Paramount lot, and I heard a couple of the other background guys saying, "Oh, they filmed all the bar scenes on the Paramount lot." So I knew,
Oh,
I'd
okay.
do a little
Yeah.
bit of digging. It turns out he didn't like, I guess Tom Cruise or whatever, somebody didn't wasn't happy with, um, I guess the way some of the younger guys. He wanted a different performance or something. So they rebuilt that same bar that they had at North Island. They rebuilt it on the Paramount lot and reshot every bar scene with, LA guys and extras and stuff from up there. And nobody from down here that was in the original
Oh, okay.
scenes. But that's okay. I got paid first, man.
Yeah,
Paid.
yeah. No. Speaking of pay, guys, I feel really bad for not compensating you, but like I said, I do this full time. I don't have a job. I got laid off from tech. We got 2 minutes. We'll wrap it up. So I actually don't have a job or anything like that, and I really want to thank you guys for seeing promise in me, and then because I'd never done a film before this one, so you kind of just took a chance with me because you didn't know what it was going to be like, right? You really honestly didn't know, but then you decided to work with me anyway. So I do feel bad for not paying you. Now, if in the films that we make, if we ever make money, you'll be back compensated for sure because I feel like uh because you guys did such a great job. So I look forward to working with you again. And then, Jack, I mean, we're going to do the series. That one, you know what? I'm not going to be part of it at all. So I will just guide you for the storyline for the restaurant waiters, the hut. That's
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
called the hut. Yeah, the hut. So that'll be you pretty much. You have full reign to do whatever you want. So I just want to be part of these kind of films, abstract films, and that's it. Not so much the web series bit. So I will, yeah. And Steven, I mean, for your role, I can, now that we have things sorted out, now we got 1 minute left. So now that we got things sorted out, and then you'll see the camera, how good the new camera that I have. Well, I mean, I've already had that camera, but the one that you'll see that one in the next film.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there's no limits to where we can go. I mean, we have requests that somebody said, hey guys, why don't you do time travel? And I was scratching my head going, we did this with zero budget, you
Yeah.
know, and then it's like, so we would have to focus, like I said, of course, we're not going to have expensive sets and things like that. So we'd have to focus on characterization like we did. So I'm going to wrap it up, guys. So, because it's going to cut off right now. So any
Right.
final thoughts?
Just looking forward to
I had
working with you again in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen.
Just let me know when and where.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Have a good night, eh?
Good night.